Okay, so welcome to this catch-up. I'm here in San Francisco. Oh, we're actually in Santa Clara at the moment, yeah. And I've got a pretty interesting person that I'm speaking to at the moment. So, I don't know if you could introduce yourself and just give us a...
Well, thanks for having me. I'm John Colgrove, known as Cos, and I'm the founder and CTO at Pure. I guess I came to California 27 years ago. I worked at Amdel for a bit. I worked at Veritas for 20 years and took a little time off, and then I started Pure, having a blast.
Excellent, thanks, Cos. Yeah. So, and I've got like 5 or 6 questions I just wanted to run by you. So, I guess I wanted to jump into those, but the first one really is just around, you mentioned Pure Storage, obviously, but it'd be really good to hear more about, what your role there is as a founder and like, what it actually involves being a founder of a company.
Well, I think my role is kind of to do everything that anyone else isn't doing. For example, we don't have a CFO at the moment, so I get to pick apart the spreadsheets more than anyone else on the budget and things like that and complain about it. I suppose part of being a founder is you're the moral authority of the company. The culture, you have to defend and define the culture and help extend that. You have to look ahead more than anything else. When there's something that isn't being done, when there's something that's going to bite us in a year, 2 years, 3 years, as the founder, I mean, it's your baby. It's just like you're a parent, and you have to be looking ahead further than other people. I'm more technical by nature, less on the business side. So I do enjoy working with Scott and Dave and other people on the sales side, on the marketing. I mean, that's one of the nice things about being a founder. You can kind of stick your nose in anywhere and kind of put your mark on things. So when I have an idea about marketing, I can go and talk to people in marketing, and they'll listen and give my idea good consideration just because it's me. So that's one nice thing about being a founder. More than anything else, we're trying to build a great company. That involves hiring great people.
Yeah.
I have to make sure I'm the bottom line on you got to hire great people and maintaining that part of the culture. I try and do a bunch of stuff. Technically, we have a lot of engineers that are great engineers that are driving a lot more of the details. I'm, again, trying to set more vision and direction.
Yeah.
And high-level design and stuff. I don't get to get into the nitty-gritty so much. So that's basically what you kind of do as a founder.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's really. Is this? I mean, obviously you're saying your background's more technical. I mean, is that just been through your experiences in working different technology organisations that you've been able to see what's happened right and what's gone on wrong before that gives you that experience and that breadth of knowledge to be able to being a founder now of a company, adding those other things to the company other than it being the technical expertise.
So I was at Veritas. A friend and I were the first couple of engineers at Veritas, and so I saw Veritas from 5 people through 5,000 people.
Yeah,
and there were a lot of things that I learned, both positive and negative. I worked with we had some great executives, and when I went into Veritas, I was very young and naive about a lot of things, and I learned a lot of things from my experiences there. I've learned a lot of things from people that I've worked with. One of the things I sort of did early in my career was I recognized everyone that you work with has some things they do really well and some things that they do not so well.
Yeah.
So every time I meet someone, I try to see what is it they do really well and pull some lesson or pull something from that. And, there's a lot of experiences. For example, with Veritas, we had some very successful outsourcing, and we had some not so successful outsourcing. So you learn things. And everybody's colored by their experiences. The trick is not to overreact to it. Oh, this didn't work out here. It doesn't mean it never works out. It means there were reasons why it failed. it could be that everything was done right and it was just the wrong time. It could be that mistakes were made. There are reasons why things succeed and reasons why they fail. And so if you learn and analyze and pull those experiences in, you can really improve yourself and do a lot better when you're in that position in the future. So I learned a lot there. And one of the other things that I learned there was teamwork. This company isn't about me. It isn't about, any 2 or 3 people. It's about the entire company. And so everyone has things to contribute. And that's part of our culture. We try to learn and be influenced and change as each new person comes on board in terms of ideas. The fact that I can go to marketing with a great idea or a lousy idea, also that means like some random engineer or an admin or someone in finance can come up with a good idea. And people will listen because that's part of our culture. Really Everyone can have good ideas.
That's really good. I think you make a really important point as well. Like in the world we live in today, we've got the internet, we've got all these things that are great learning tools, but there's nothing better than learning from other people's experiences. And I think it's a really important point. Like these days it kind of gets missed.
Yeah. Everyone has something that they do really well. Everyone has something you can learn from. And that's something that... I try to still do today.
Yeah, that's great.
And there's areas like I have a ton to learn about sales, for example. I'm learning things about financing. I learn things from our board members all the time. They have a ton of experience. That's why we pick them. We have a great board. It's there are a lot of great people to learn from out there, and the trick is to just do that.
Yeah, it's a really good point you make there. Yeah. So the next question then was just around, what it was like, what it's been like for you building a storage startup, and really like, how does it compare? You talked before about working for Veritas and stuff like that. How's it comparing for you now in the last few years compared to working for a larger vendor?
Well, so I started my career. I was actually when I was working at AT&T when I was going to school. And then I went to Amdahl, which was about 7,000 or 8,000 people when I got there, maybe 10. I don't remember exactly. Then I went to Veritas, but it was a lot smaller than AT&T, right? Then I went to Veritas, which was 5, and then I went to Pure, which was like nobody when I got there. And I like these smaller companies better because it's great not to be compartmentalized. In a big company, if I work for a company of 20, 30,000 people, I have a lot less influence over what happens. But in addition, everybody's sort of more compartmentalized in their things. They don't know what's going on as well. I love being part of a company where people know what's going on. People know what's important to the company. People use their brains to, do the right thing for the company because that's more important than doing what you're told. So I just like smaller companies a lot better for that reason. And as we grow, one of the hardest things is to keep those aspects of it. And that's something that I work at a lot and that the rest of the management team works at a lot. I think the other thing, in terms of storage, I kind of started doing storage back still when I was in New Jersey at Bell Labs. I did a bunch of storage stuff for Amdahl. At Veritas, I was doing storage for 20 years. I didn't say, I'm going to start a storage company.
For sure,
Originally, that's what I have to do. It's just, I've been around a long time. I've seen the things that the industry doesn't do so well. And so I said, okay, we can build a better company. We can create a company that will be better to do business with, that will, customers will like and appreciate more, and we can create better storage. And flash just happens to be a great tipping point. It's kind of like when, you had like the interstate highway system built in the U.S. and trains as a primary mode of transportation went way down in favor of the automobile, in favor of trucks. It was the right point. And, we reached a point. The very first problem I worked on when I came to California at Amdahl was people were buying IBM 3380E double density drives,
Right,
buying
yeah.
one drive to replace two
Mm-hmm.
of the regular 3380s for their mainframe, and their performance was going down.
Yeah, right.
And it's that same problem that is why disk is dying and flash is taking over. And thanks to consumer technology, we just happened to finally reach the point. My entire time in storage, there's always been, here's the new technology, here's going to be the great thing. Due to consumer use of flash, we finally reached the point where there was an alternative to disk, and we're capitalizing on that. But what we're really doing is we're just building a better storage industry.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, with that, on that building a better storage industry, I mean, what are you hoping to achieve from that? I mean, really, I guess I'm saying, like, what kind of technology problem we're trying to solve with that? I mean, you talk about the advent of flash and the capability that it brings to the data center, or brings to, consumer IT, or sorry, consumer solutions, but also to the enterprise IT as well. But what fundamentally do you think is the problem that you're going to try and solve there?
It's really a whole host of problems. People are twisting themselves around trying to make their applications and their infrastructure fit the storage.
Yeah.
The storage should be a service that supports it. There's nobody out there that, oh, hey, I'm going to start a company. Oh, I need to go buy a lot of storage because I want to buy storage. You buy storage because you want to run an application. And you shouldn't have to twist your application in knots in order to run the storage. So you have that problem. Then you have the problem that Flash enables a better class of application. So think now, for example, like, okay, I've got my smartphone. My son asks me a question. If I don't know the answer, it's just like, okay, you look it up. I don't know where I'm going. Oh, gee, I've got a map on my phone, right? Look at all the new applications that are making people's lives better, making it easier access to information, more timely, more of it, in more locations. And part of enabling that is getting the storage to be much more responsive and easy to use. So, I would argue that in terms of improving the robustness of data, the availability of data, all of that is being just revolutionized by Flash. And that's really what we're trying to do. The fact that it saves space and saves power and saves money is all good. The fact that I think we can provide better support and service, the fact that we can, just be a friendlier company to do business with, the fact that we can, have better relationships with partners, that's all good. I love the employees we have. I love working as a team to solve these problems. There's another way you can say that's what drives us. It's just a great fun thing to be a part of. And, the major storage vendors, I've seen EMC do campaigns completely aimed at us. I've now seen HP come along with a campaign aimed at us. I'd love nothing better than to say, here's the top 5 storage vendors, and they all have a campaign completely focused at Pure. So one of the other things we're doing is we're making them better.
Competition.
Competition makes things better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's just evolution.
No, that's you make a really good point there as well. Yeah, lots of good points. It's great. Yeah. What do you think then? I mean, just tailing on to the end of that, then, what do you think? Like maybe in the next 5 years or 10 years or something. How do you see IT being transformed with Flash? I mean, Flash. We've seen changes in compute and the network as well. We've seen things like virtualization come on board, which has really made applications more mobile, so that we can, companies are now hosting those in clouds, outsourcing those things. So we're kind of seeing that outsourcing model come around again. But what do you see in the next, I'm trying to get a bit of a vision and a futurist look of it a bit, so it can, it doesn't have to be like bare bones, but more, where do you see it's going in the next 5 or 10 years? If you could sit back and just look forward.
Okay, so you have a smartphone. Think with your smartphone, how much thought do you put into upgrading one of the apps you've downloaded for it? It's like, oh, there's an update, I'll just take it.
I think you're actually even scheduled now, so you don't even.
For some of them, they're even scheduled. You don't sit there and do major planning. I happen to have an iPhone. It's like, oh, I bought a new iPhone. What did I do? I backed up the old one, and then I plugged in the new one, restored it, all my contacts, all my stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Done.
Yeah.
I think the big thing that we're really doing is we're trying to eliminate the arcane from storage. We're trying to eliminate the inconvenience. So if I've been a storage admin, it's like, let's see, I work nights and weekends all the time because I got to do outage windows where nobody else wants the storage, but other people want it all the time now because of new applications, so that's getting harder. I've got to go through complex change management. When I upgrade, it's like I'm sitting there like, oh, don't break, please don't break.
Yeah,
things that I do are hard. They occur at inconvenient times. They're not oriented around me. In my ideal world, people will take a raise like ours and they'll say, hey, I've upgraded any time.
Yeah.
I swap it out for new hardware just seamlessly. It's like plug and play. I don't have to do things. I don't have to work odd hours. I don't have to, stress out about this stuff. It all just kind of works.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is I'm taking the pain out of running this part of a data center. And, in the ideal, VMware is taking a bunch of pain out. We're taking a bunch of pain out of different things. You get pain out of networking. This stuff should just work. Right? We've had it around long enough. It should just work.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
And so I would call it the consumerization of IT. We're trying to make it so it just works.
Yeah, that's a big change, really. It's a fundamental change compared to what we had in the last 20 years or whatever,
Yeah. The expertise that you as an IT specialist should add to your company is around planning, around proper scouting for new technologies and new things to apply, not around running the stuff you've already bought. The stuff you've already bought should run and run easily and run without constant monitoring and constant crises. And that's one of the things. IT is a crisis to a crisis to a crisis, and it shouldn't be. And that's the kind of thing that we're changing, so that you can add strategic value rather than the minutia of day-to-day pain.
Yeah, you're only ever remembered for the failures and never for the success. Yeah.
IT is a fairly thankless job. If it's running, that's what I expect, right?
That's
kind
of
normal. I walk over, there's a wall socket over there. If I walk over and plug in my phone to charge it, I just expect it's going to work, right? And it's an unusual thing when it doesn't, and I get annoyed at the power company and all that kind of stuff.
Sure, yeah.
IT should be like that. It should just work and work that easily.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. Yeah. That's some really good points there, Causey. I appreciate that. So the next one was just around. I always ask this to the people that I interview: is around if you have a home lab at all. So, do you have any kit at home? Do you get on the bench and do some coding? Is it or?
Well, so again, if you think about it, I'm more software oriented.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So. Yes, I have a set of computers at home, all flash.
Of course.
When we started Pure, I eliminated hard drives from my life and continue to strive to do so in every way. My car has one, I think, actually.
Right.
I got to do something about that. Just occurred to me that my car still has one. Anyway, so software, it's sort of easy. It's like, okay, I've got a virtual machine. I log in from wherever I am and do stuff. I do stuff at home plenty. I also, the office happens to be situated fairly near my house.
Okay.
So when I want to work at night, I actually like coming back to the office more because there's other people there working. It's like, the kids are in bed. If I'm going to go back to work, it's like, I'll let my wife do what she wants to do around the house, and I'll go back to the office, and that way there's other people there that are working on the same stuff, and that's more fun. I obviously started doing this before. I remember when I was in high school, I used to carry this CRT and a modem home sometimes because the high school teacher would let me take it from the computer lab. so I could dial in and do more work. And it was, of course, like a 1200 baud modem. I mean, that was quite advanced for the time. Up from the 300 baud modem we used to have.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'd like carry this like 40-pound CRT. Now it's like, hey, I've got an iPad. I can just sit there and do stuff from it. I can do stuff all over. But it's nice when you can do stuff with other people. It's great if you have a question to talk to someone rather than instant message them.
Yeah, sure.
So, I'm, I guess, old-fashioned in that way. I like talking to people.
Yeah, there's
more
nothing wrong with face-to-face.
messaging.
Yeah. No, that's good. Some good points there. Do you? I mean, like on that, I was interested to know. You talked about Veritas and Symantec eventually as well. Yeah, like. What do you see, as being like the biggest changes that they made in the industry? I mean, how long was you there for? How many?
About 20 years.
Yeah, so that's like a significant time period. I mean, because everyone knows who Veritas, everyone knows who Symantec are. I mean, they're obviously different. Well, Symantec's a different incarnation these days, but at that time, I mean, they were kind of leading the pack. They were doing some pretty amazing stuff. I mean, what from your experience there? I mean, is there anything that stood out specifically that? Kind of contributed to?
I can't speak a lot to the Symantec side because that was security stuff that they really did most of that independent of me, and so I don't know that much about that. Okay. On the storage side, if you think about it, when I started with Veritas, like the very first test system that I had was a 386 processor. And I got a really fast one. I got a 33 megahertz 386 processor. I mean, come on, that could do it. And I had a drive, and it was a 440 megabyte drive.
Wow.
That I used for testing, and it cost like $2,500 just to drive.
It's crazy now.
Disk arrays were not very common. They were a thing that was like, usually expensive, mainframe only kind of thing, and that sort of thing. And, you had NFS just coming along, and all the companies trying to be the NFS server of choice that NetApp eventually won. And, you sort of look at that landscape, and you go through the popularization of RAID and disk arrays, the change from accessing a disk to accessing a disk through a disk array where you basically have a cache in front of it and you can count on that. Control it. But then the complexity as you start adding features in there. Snapshots didn't really exist. So the ability to do backups rather than spinning tapes like, oh, hey, it's Friday night. All right, let's shut down the computer and spin tapes all weekend for backup. To now, oh, gee, I'm going to do a snapshot. I'm going to do instant backup, disk-to-disk backup. It's, you look at NetApp and their transformation. Hey, we're the toaster. Just plug us in the wall and we work right away. Now there's like thousands of pages of manuals on application interactions with them and things. The complexity that creeps in. So that's just one thing. As you do technology and it ages, complexity creeps in. It is so hard to fight that and to keep that. That's one of the things at Pure we're very big on simplicity, and we intend to fight that complexity tooth and nail. Complexity occurs when you stop re-architecting your product. Right? When you stop redesigning it, when you say, okay, it's too big, I'm too scared to touch it. That's when complexity starts creeping because you start bolting things on. Obviously, like storage networking. Again, when we started Veritas, it's like, ooh, direct connect. Right? And direct connect over like a SCSI bus, and I mean the big SCSI cable with the big
huge interfaces on them.
And then you go to fiber channel networking and iSCSI networking, and just the advances there. It's been just so many changes and so many things, and I think Veritas had a big role in helping to bring those changes into open systems. I mean, that's really where Veritas started. You had advanced storage services in mainframes and proprietary OSs, and Veritas started as like the arms supplier to all of the people trying to do Unix mid-range computing and that needed storage services.
So like storage for the masses kind of thing.
And that was kind of one of the big marks. It was just it was great to be part of that. There was because we had a big OEM thing early on, and then we got a sales force and grew the sales force. Did the backup integration and things. When we got OpenVision and the sales force, and that all came together. So it was just a great thing to be part of, and a lot of great things to learn. Some of that experience I'm able to use now.
Yeah, for sure.
I met a lot of great people. Some of the people, like Dave Hatfield, who runs Salesforce, I met him at Veritas. Matt Burr, who was our first sales guy and our first head of sales. Just, a lot of great people that I worked with, and a lot of great things to learn from.
That's great, Cos. Yeah. Thanks very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for chatting with me.
Thanks, yeah.